Your eyes closed.
I haven't felt like this in a long time.
And always make yourself more comfortable. If you find sitting down is not comfortable very much right now in this position, you could sit up on a chair or sit on your shins. I'm much more interested in these classes than you imitating the shapes I make, instead feeling into what it feels like in your own body and just being curious and present. And we'll start to become more mindful of what's present in the room with us, especially practicing in our own house. There's tends to be different distractions than when we're at a studio. I'm noticing the things that have the power of taking away your attention, just noting those things. Those things don't need to change or go away. You're just aware that they're going to be happening while you're taking in the moment. And do the same thing inside. Notice the different sensations and distractions that might be arising from your thoughts to your feelings, to your breath, to your body, aches and sensations. So allowing it all to be present. And seeing if you can soften the tendency to want to change or improve the situation. Begin to bring more awareness to your breath. Actively inhale, take in more air, fill up, become more expansive. And as you exhale, imagine that the breath can just fall out as you soften. Actively inhaling, breathing, and expanding. And then as you exhale, letting the breath fall out, maybe through your mouth. That's my preference right now. As the air comes in, see if you can expand in specific areas, maybe into the back of the rib cage or the sides, and see if you can find the little stretches that come along with expanding your breath in different parts of your body. We've talked about the diaphragm on and off for months, but the diaphragm is the breathing muscle that when you exhale, it sits deflated up underneath your ribs like an opened umbrella if you were to look up from your belly button. And when you inhale, that umbrella pulls down to your belly, grounding through your hips. And as you exhale, it softens back up into the pocket of the rib cage. See if you can follow this breath, inhaling, feeling your hips get more heavy, maybe sitting bones feel like they expand. And as you exhale, soften, belly comes back to the spine. Now we're gonna follow the breath back even further. So as you inhale, feel the diaphragm pull down from the back of the heart all the way down to the low back and the pelvis. Your chest might drop a little bit, that's okay. And then as you exhale, let the crown of the head and the spine float up towards the sky so you get longer. Inhale, pulling down, breathing into the back body, kind of scraping off any of the plaque that can develop in our back body when we hold it so static. And now let the breath begin to move you in a circle. So the belly button's going to circle around the pelvis. Going nice and slow. And see if you can find the band of tension that you're stretching the most. So normally it's the side that your body is leaning away from. There'll be a line of tension from your hips up to your ribs. And see if you can be curious at connecting to this line of tension and watching how it moves around the body as you move around the body. We're beginning to slide the fascia, these sheets that are layered within ourselves that can be really fluid, like oil between cellophane moving, or they can be really frozen and turn almost into like a hard plastic, limiting other parts of our movement. We're going to take your circle in the other direction. If the mind wanders, you can smile a little bit and then just come back to being more interested in what's happening in the present moment, what it feels like to be in your body. And this is the part that I think is really interesting. Without trying to heal or fix or improve your body, can you just be with it today? And following that line of fascia. And if you can't feel it, that's totally fine. The more I do this, the more I can start to find these more subtle sensations. But in the beginning, I could only find them every once in a while. And that's really cool because it shows that our awareness of our body and all parts of our body are coming more online. So we'll have more control and fluidity. And start to bring the body back to stillness. Can do this really slowly still, maybe still making the circle so nothing feels too abrupt. And when you come back up to stillness, think about pushing down through your hips and lengthening up through the crown of the head, and do some shoulder circles, rocking the shoulders forward, up and back. Envision your scapulas, the triangle bones on your back, like your little wings, and think about how your scapulas are gliding up over the rib cage. So fascia, this connective tissue that connects all parts of ourselves and holds all parts of ourselves in our body. So our fascia is holding our scapulas on our back, and our fascia actually goes through the muscles, through the bones. So it's all of this fascia, and we're trying to get this glide. Oftentimes we can get frozen shoulder where there's less movement in the shoulder. Take your shoulders in the opposite direction. And because there's less glide in the shoulder, then you can get an injury in the muscle or the elbow or the wrist or the neck. You could take your circles asymmetrically. So instead of moving the shoulders at the same time, maybe they move opposite, maybe even in different directions. Giving yourself the freedom to kind of tune in and listen to your body and move the way your body wants to move. This is a super sweet invitation we're getting from this time of isolation. So I don't think I'd ever get as in tune of listening to my body and moving organically. Take it in the other direction if there's another direction. If I was in a room of yogis in a studio. So remembering yourself, your eyes are closed, you're in your own house, and it really doesn't matter how you're moving to any of us. It's just this reconnecting to yourself, to this moment as it is. And start to slow the shoulders down. And sit in stillness and just listen and feel. What does it feel like in your body if there was sometimes when I think of a word, it even takes me out. Can you just take like a snapshot of how this feels? And without comparing it in a judgmental way, just like an interesting way, notice how it felt when you first got up or were first moving. Keep the spine long, drop your chin to your chest. As the chin comes to your chest, draw your shoulders back and down. So your fascia, it changes as it goes throughout your body. But one of the main areas of this fascial line starts at the bottom of your feet, goes up the back of your legs, back of your hamstrings, your low back. There's a lot of it on your low back. Draw your right ear to your right shoulder. And then the fascia comes up through the back of the spine and connects onto the back of the skull. So there's a lot of tension on the back of the head here. As the right ear's over to the right shoulder, can you find the line of tension from about the left ear to the left shoulder? And now follow that line of tension over the back of your neck to the right as your chin comes down through center and your left ear rolls over to your left shoulder. Feel that line of tension from the right shoulder to the right ear. Oh, how's it different? How's it the same in your other side? Feeling into these answers instead of going so intellectual. Follow the line of fascia as it goes across the neck to the left as you take your chin back through center and to the right. Now you can continue doing these half circles if you know it's not safe for your neck to go back, or keeping your chin slightly close to your chest. Bring your head to the back of you, and then left ear to left shoulder. And then continue the circle down and over to the right. Seeing if you can follow that line of fascia all the way around. Accepting whatever comes your way, seeing nothing as a problem or an obstacle that needs to be overcome. And then taking your circle in the other direction. Even the word yoga instructor implies that there's instructions that's going to take you from one place to something else. I've been moving into this idea of what happens if there's nothing else and it's always right here. And we don't need to do our best all the time and strive to do it perfectly, but instead just move into more relaxation and being. Start to slowly move your head back to center. Take your time. Have it take at least 2 more breaths to get you back to center so that rushing mentality can start to soften. As you come back to center, lengthen through the spine and come back to the pulsation of your breath. Inhale, pulling the breath down into the low belly, grounding through the hips, expanding through the low back. And as you exhale, the diaphragm lifts back up underneath the rib cage and the spine slightly lengthens. Really nice. Let your eyes start to open. Bring your feet forward. I'll turn sideways. Hook your heels to the floor. Hands come behind your back. Palms face towards the heels. Or fingers face towards the heels, palms down. And you're going to isometrically push your hands towards your heels so you get a little tug on your sacrum. And then lift your heart up. And then with the tug on your sacrum, rock your knees from one side to the other. Feel into the parts of your buttocks, your bottom, that's getting massaged as you take your knees from one side to the other. We're following this moving line of sensation. And then adding on as the knees go over to the right, push through the left hand and draw the left shoulder slightly back. Push out through the left knee, pull back through the left shoulder and over to the right. So letting the sensation grow from just being at the hips to push out through the right knee, right shoulder draws back. Moving at your own speed, just following your sensations. If something else would feel a little bit better, experiment with doing something else. Really nice, and then come back up through center. We're going to take our arms forward and slowly roll down to our back. You could do this on an exhale, slowly lowering down all the way to your back. And then when you get to the back, do a full body stretch. Stretch out through your toes and your fingers. And again, tune in. How does your body want to move? Do your feet want to like point and flex differently? Do your hands want to stretch at different times? Do your knees want to bend? Kind of like you're getting out of the bed and you're just stretching. How feels good to you? And then allow the stretch to carry you all the way onto the right side in fetal position. Use your hands and press yourself all the way up. So you come back sitting on your butt, knees up on your heels, and we're gonna roll back again. Slowly rolling down through the spine. And then stretch out through the arms. And pull the knees in, roll over to your left side. And then as you inhale, push yourself up, come back up. Really nice, we're gonna do it 2 more times. This time, the heels can be on the floor or they can be lifted. And before we roll back, we're gonna massage the glutes. So if the heels are on the floor, they'd stay on the floor and you'd rock a little bit onto one side and a little bit onto the other. You could hold your leg. So this will start to turn on some of the core muscles. And stay here or lift the feet up, still trying to massage out some of the glute. Go over to the other side. And then slowly rolling all the way down. Stretch through the body. Search for that sensation of a yawn, that peak apex stretch. Let that stretch carry you all the way up through your fetal position on your right side and push you back up. One more time, heels on the floor or lifted, shifting from one glute to the other. And then from center, lower all the way down and stretch. Let the knees pull in, spin over to your left side, and press up. Once you come up, you're gonna cross your legs or however you wanna get there, bring them along to one side and come into your table. Bring your hands slightly forward of your shoulders and your knees slightly back. And sit back into child's pose. And then pull up to table. In your table, isometrically slide your hands to the back of the yoga mat so you have a little bit of resistance. As you slide the hands to the back of the yoga mat, the heart will pull forward. So into that resistance, drag your hips back into child's pose. And follow that sensation. And when you can't kind of lose that sensation of the engagement and the stretch, come back up to table. This is starting to allow the fascia that goes across our upper back and down our outer arms to become more glidey. This time when you're in child's pose and you come up to table, same action, but round your spine more like a Halloween cat. As you come up, so you're accentuating the stretchy feeling across the shoulder blades. And then as you go back to child's, do a little bit of a back bend like cow. So up will come with a little bit of a round, and back will come with a little bit of a back bend. Remembering, this isn't about imitating the shape that I'm doing, but finding those tight spaces within your own body and being with them. Really nice. And next time you come up to table, stay there. We're gonna come up onto our fingertips. Spin the hands out so the thumbs are facing each other And then walk the hands out so they're outside of the yoga mat. Elbows are gonna bend kind of like a push-up. And as you're here at the elbows bent, you're trying to pull your hands in towards each other. So we're trying to get the biceps to fire and the chest muscles. And then into the engagement of the chest, let the heart soften down. So you should feel this pulling across the front of your chest. And when that seems to go away, round through the spine and straighten the elbows a little bit like cat. And then engage in, spread the elbows, press the heart down. Round the ribs as you inflate up. I'm gonna come up and peek at you. Yeah. We're going to take it one elbow at a time. So you're still in table, don't shift forward too much like a push-up. This isn't supposed to be too intense. This is more of a stretch. So drop one elbow in, maybe look towards the opposite elbow, where the shoulder is not coming in. And then come back up, squeeze in with the hands, opposite elbow comes in. Really nice. Come back through table, tuck over, tuck your toes and press back downward facing dog. In your down dog, begin to pedal out the legs, bending one knee while straightening the other. As you inhale, look forward and then begin to walk lots of little steps. Walk your feet all the way up between your hands. Bow forward. Bend your knees a little bit so you can release a little bit more. Then take your hands to your thighs up high. And as you inhale, breathe into the back. As you uncurl the chest, stretch the chest forward, lengthen the crown of the head forward. And as you exhale, belly softens to the thighs, fold down. So you can move your hands or you can keep them up here on your thighs. Inhale, lengthening. Exhale, releasing. What I'm liking about these rolling movements is it's helping to activate and realign the different fascias, the different fibers of the fascia. And then let your inhale take you all the way up to center. Stretch your arms up to the sky. And then as you exhale, stand. Where there's fascia, there's all these layers, like everything needs to get stretched. All part of the body's fascia stretches more if you're fluid. Or when you just do static for like years, I taught to always come up like this, but then that's only conditioning the muscles and the joints and are repetitive, and it's not as good for the fascia. So I've been loving the waves. Okay, standing on your feet, begin to shift your weight forward and back. On your toes, shifting the weight to your toes. Heels could lift a little bit. Shift weight back to your heels, toes lift. Heels lift, toes lift. And then go side to side. So outer inner edge of the foot, outer inner edge of the foot. And then standing on the left foot, point the right toes and push the toenails down into the floor, stretching the front of the foot. Switch sides. Standing on the right foot, stretch the front of the left foot, left toenails come to the floor. And the fascia is also where we store a lot of our muscles. So if you think about like going throughout the day and just being like a little bit tense, but every day you're just a little bit tense, you end up tightening all this layer of fascia around you. Instead of having this experience of like glidey fluidness, you can feel like we're strapped down into a straight jacket. So take your right hand out. We're just gonna see how soft and loose we can be. You're gonna shake your hand around. And see if you can do it with your elbow to your hand and then your arm to your hand. When I don't do a ton of massages these days, but I can always tell when someone comes in who's really tense because I'll lift up their arm and then I'll let go of it and they just keep holding their arm up. So it's that idea of if I lifted your arm up, it would just fall. Now do the other one, start just your hand and then elbow to hand and then shoulder to hand. And see this side, I can feel that it's different. I can feel that I'm like fighting my own control to allow my arm to move compared to this arm that can just move. But it's just interesting. It's not that this arm is now bad or I need to fix it. It's just like, oh, that's interesting. Now we're gonna do it with our feet. If your balance isn't wonderful, stand next to something so that we don't need to try to balance. We can try to be more loose. So let's stand on the left foot first and lift up our right leg and see if you can just do the foot. And then knee to foot. It's a harder one. And then hip to foot. Now, can you tell out of your right leg, left arm, and right arm, which one was the loosest? Mine's still my right arm. Okay, now do the left leg. So left foot, knee to foot, and then hip to foot. I'm trying to loosen up the whole body and just noticing like all these areas of tension. It's like telling the body like, no. So I'm gonna do the same thing, but we're gonna do it from this rocking place. So I'm rocking onto my toes and then back to my heels. And I'm gonna see if I can start to make a wave that comes all the way up through my spine. So as I rock forward to my toes, then the hips come forward and the chest lifts, then the chin lifts. And as I rock back to my heels, my back rounds and my elbows come in a little bit. Inhale, hips forward, up through the head, exhale. And it's gonna help sometimes to kind of pull the arms apart if you want. The arms can be forward. This isn't meant to look any certain way. This is this rolling up through the fascia. And if you're really mobile and feel pain when you do this, keep your core a little stronger. And then rock it back so it's slow motion until you bring it back to standing. Stand and feel. I once heard Fascia explains like liquid crystal, that all of us, all parts of us are encoded and held in this liquid crystal, and we want it to be liquidy. Take your hands up in front of your heart, and as you inhale, pull your elbows apart, open your chest. And as you exhale, draw your hands back in front of your heart. So this open heart lifts and down. Next time your arms stretch out, keep them there. And see how far you can stretch your arms away from each other. And at a certain stretch, you'll start to feel these parts of your body that get more sensation. Take the arm bones back a little bit and then begin to roll out the right wrist. Maybe the left ear comes to the left shoulder and the chin moves. And find those interesting places. And then stretch out through the left arm more. Maybe right ear comes to the chin, or the right ear comes to the right shoulder. Left hand rotates. Smallest movements of the fingers can create a different sensation across the arm and the chest. And bring your arms down, stand. As you inhale, stretch the arms up to the sky. As you exhale, round forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step back, downward facing dog. As you inhale, come forward to table, and exhale, sit back, child's pose. Walk your hands over to the right. And see if you can exaggerate the stretch happening from your left hip up into your armpit, into your pinky finger. And come back to center, walk your hands over to the left. Leaning right hip, right finger. Really nice, come back up to table. And we're gonna take our right hand over to the left side of the yoga mat and turn the palm up. Left hand's gonna come on top of the right hand. So my right palm's up, my left hand comes onto it. And then I'm going to, with resistance, I'm gonna push my left hand into my right hand. And then I'm gonna lean my right shoulder towards my right knee as I pull with my arm. And you're looking for a stretchy sensation on the right side of the body. You can stay here in the stretch, or I like to go until I feel like I start to lose the stretch and then come back up, re-engage, and then lean over. And you get more of the fascia stretch when you can create an engagement as you move into the stretch. So there's the glide and the breaking apart of the cobwebs that develop between the layers of our skin. One more time. If you're coming up, you see if you can pull that right shoulder away from the right hand in a slightly different direction. Maybe you come more back to your heels in the middle, or lean more over to the right and up. It's getting different lines. Awesome, come back up. We're gonna switch our hands, so coming through table, left palm up on the right side of the yoga mat, right hand comes into the left palm. Push down with your right hand as you pull your left arm straight, left shoulder in the shoulder socket. Tip your left shoulder in the direction of your left knee. Find a place to hang out where you're pushing your hands forward and you're pulling back to the left body, getting a stretch. As you inhale, come back up. Walk your hands back. I think you guys can do this. If you don't, if there's something that you can't do in class and you don't want to unmute and be like, Kim, I can't do that, send me a message so I know, and I can be thinking of different modifications for you. So we're gonna walk our hands back to Malasana. So now I'm in a deep squat, my heels are off the floor. And I'm gonna alternate my legs. So right now my right heel's on the floor, my left heel is up. I'm turning a little bit to the right and then I'm gonna switch. So the left heel will come down, right heel will come up, you'll turn a little bit to the left. Kind of think if I was in the I Love Lucy episode where they step on the grapes to make the wine, that after a long day of grape stomping, I'd probably be stomping the grapes like this. That's the visual I get. Next time the right heel comes to the floor, stay there. Left heel lifted. And find some kind of more interesting stretch to stay with for a few rounds of breath. Maybe it's the way you're pushing your hips back, or widening your knees, or rooting a heel down. Look for a stretch that you can move into and stay with for a second. And then we'll do it on the other side. Really nice. Straighten your legs, forward fold at the back of your yoga mat. When you're forward fold, do some shoulder circles like we did at the beginning of class. Maybe rotating the head. And then we're gonna do those halfway lifts 5 times. So you can take your hands to the thighs, or you can open your arms like wings as you inhale, inflate the kidneys, mid-back. Heart opens, arms float out like you're flying. And then as you exhale, drop down, belly to thighs, chest to knees, forehead toward shins. Getting this undulating effect up through the spine. So a lot of power in the hips as you roll up. Feel the parts of your body where it feels disconnected, where it feels like the roll gets interrupted. Just how interesting. And eventually let one of the rolls to take you all the way up to standing. Really nice. Walk forward to the front of the yoga mat. And stand to the left side of your yoga mat. Shift the weight into your left foot and float your right knee up. You can imagine that your right foot was connected to a string and you're pulling it up with the left foot. And then we're going to step the right foot over to the left. Nope, right foot to the right. Shift the weight to the right foot. Hold the invisible string on your left heel with your right hand and pull it up. So the left leg does less work staying up. Bring the foot down, shift over, right foot lifts. Shift over, left foot lifts. From here, we're going to take our left foot and step it back into a short lunge. Right foot, right knee tracks forward, left heel tracks back. Stretch your arms up. Maybe reach one arm up more and then the other. I want this class to kind of feel like a prolonged morning stretch after you get out of bed. Nice. And then we're going to step forward. Maybe left foot comes up and balances. Left foot steps to the right, then out to the left. Right foot lifts up. And then we're going to step it back into our lunge. Nice and slow. Taking a moment to find your stance, and you can feel free to move it. And then begin to stretch through the fingertips. Nice. I'm gonna do one more time on each side. Push into the right foot or left foot, right foot lifts. Then right foot widens. Left foot lifts. Step the foot back. Really nice, and come into your lunge. Explore as you'd like. Can you soften some of the rolls, some of the striving, and be in more sensation and presence? Step, shift it forward, left foot lifts, right foot lifts. Step the right foot back, lunge. Step it forward, right foot lifts. Step over to the right foot, left foot lifts. You can move to a wall for a second if you want some. You can't see, but I have a wall right over here that I can support myself on. So bend into your right knee, left foot over your ankle. push your butt back. Think about pulling your left knee up into your elbow as you push your left hip out to the side. Both hips out, so you're getting that engaged and stretch between your hips. Nice, come back up. Left foot comes over to the left. Right foot lifts. Cross your ankle over your knee. Another reason to have a large foam roller, it makes a really good cane. Hands rest on the left thigh, not the right knee. You don't want to be pushing down on the knee joint. I didn't see anyone doing that, just want to make sure. Pull the knee up as you push the pelvis back. Really nice. Come back through center, stand. Let your feet be wide and your eyes be soft. This fascia, it holds 90% of the liquid in our body, and it holds it up in place so all the water doesn't fall down to our feet. So it's this very movable thing. So imagine you're mostly made of water, right? 70%, more than 70% made of water, and 90% of that is held in your connective tissue that goes all throughout your body. So from your feet, can you do that little rock? And let the rock move up your spine. From your feet and your hips, causing this undulation that goes up to the top of the head. Maybe it moves the shoulders on the rib cage as the hands move. And sweep the arms all the way up to the sky. Put a little bend in your knees, side stretch up and over to the right. Right hand holds left wrist. Push more weight into the left foot. And push the butt back and over to the right as you round through your spine, hips to the right, arms to the left, little squat, open up to the left side of the body. Nope, that's the right side of the body. I'm just totally confused on sides right now. And then sweep it back the way you came. Now over to the right, straighten your legs. And you can move back and forth through this half semicircle. Stretching through the left side and the right. When I come over to the right, I like to straighten my legs. When I'm over to the left, I like to keep my knees bent. Next time you come over to the right, stay there. And then push through your feet, little bounce back up through center, arms flow down. We'll do it on the other side. But first, just notice how it feels. How it feels in your body, how it feels in your skin, how it feels to inhibit this body that guides us through the world. And second side, stretch your arms up. Left hand holds the right wrist, side stretch. Nope. Yep, up and over to the left, weight in the right foot. Just like in the beginning of class, see if you can find that line of tension from the right hip or maybe right foot up to the right armpit or right hand. See if you can follow the line of tension as you bend through your knees. Circle your butt back in opposite direction as your hands. Can you still feel that line of tension moving across your back? Keep the squat in your knees, hips to the left, arms to the right, puff up through the left ribs. Find the line of tension. Follow the line of tension back around as you reverse. Continue in your own way in time. The next time you come over to the left, stay there. Straighten the legs and then come up. Arms down. Really nice. We're gonna come to lay on our side. Let's lay across the mat so you can stay facing me. So lay on your right side facing me. You can rest in this like beach pose, or you could take a pillow underneath your head. Actually, I might do that. That sounds pretty comfortable. Normally I rest my head on my hands. And we're going to do a move to stretch the fascia on the back of the knee. We did this on Tuesday too, but I want to do it again with Christina here because there's a line of fascia that connects from the corner of the eye, and it like zigzags over the head, through the shoulder, through the spine, and then it comes out around the sacrum, comes over the hip, through the hip joint, and then it becomes a part of the IT band as it goes down through the knee and through the foot. So this is a way of getting less tension in the IT band. So we're going to lift our knee up, left knee up, right hand or left hand to the left knee. And I'm going to be pushing my knee down, but I'm going to be doing it in opposition to the knee pulling up. So as it looks like I'm pushing my knee down, what you don't see is I'm pushing my knee up as much as I can. If my hand were to slip off, my knee would go back up. I'm pushing it all the way down towards the floor. It doesn't need to touch the floor, but towards the end, you should get that stretch over the hip. And then once you get there and you start to lose the stretch, bring the knee back up. And again, push it down in opposition. And depending on where the plane, what plane the knee is in, it's going to stretch different areas of the low back and pelvis. So you can play with taking the knee more down towards your feet or more up towards your chest. That's where I like it more. Right now it feels better in my body for it to be up here. Find a place that you can repeat. This is a glute burner and an IT band stretcher. And they say that the IT band's very, very hard to stretch because it's so thick and dense and fibrous. The best way you can stretch the IT band is to release areas above or below it. Okay, the next time the knee comes up, we're gonna reach down and hold the foot and then point the knee towards the back of the room or the side of the room. We're coming into our quad stretch. Put a bend in your left elbow, draw the left shoulder into the back of the shoulder socket. Ribs stay slightly in, so you're not jutting into the mid back. And push the right knee away from your face. Next, left knee. Goodness, I apologize for my side slaughtering. And you can move around in here a little bit too. Is there a way that you can move the knee that will enhance the stretch? Stretching not only the quad muscles, but all of this connective muscle that innervates everywhere. Really nice, and then pull the knee up to the chest, reach up, hold either the outside of the left leg or hold the left foot. If you had a strap, you could strap up too, or a towel. Put a little bend in the left knee and then stick your butt back. Pull the butt under, push it back, under, back. So we want to keep pushing the butt back and then straighten the leg. Make this pose feel more alive. Instead of feeling still and like more and more things begin to go offline, can you make more and more things go online? More awareness, more interest, more levels of sensation. Really nice. And then either with the left leg with a bend in it or the left leg straight, we're going to bring it all the way down in front of our right hip. So you could just be holding onto the leg here. And do little actions in your bum, pulling your hip back or pushing it under to find a stretch. I find the most stretch when I pull my left sit bone back. You could even leave your foot where it is, take your left hand to your left sit bone and try to pull the left sit bone back, stretching those smaller tendons, those fibrous tendons back. So keep stretching out through the left heel. Really nice. And then we're going to come around through center. So spin yourself forward so you're on the mat facing me. Plant your hands like you're going to do cobra Little lift up. Drag your chest forward, pull your shoulders back. Little head circles. And take them in the other direction. And bring your head back through stillness, lower down. Pull yourself forward as you lower so you gain length in your low back. And then spin yourself over to the left so you're facing me. I'll start with the knee action, so lifting the right knee up to the sky. Right hand pushes on the outer knee. The knee is pushing up and then come down into the resistance. This is really great for repositioning, allowing the pelvis to have less tension pull on it so it can reset itself. So the SI joints get unbalanced and the hips get wonky. It's going to serve as a little release for it. Gina, it looks so beautiful in your room with all the light just pouring in. Very nice. Okay, and then from here we'll go into the quad stretch, reaching down for the right foot. Notice if there's this feeling of wanting to change, to shift, to improve. And for at least this morning, can you be with just letting things be exactly the way they are and being with it? It's kind of like the meaning of compassion. Compassion really means to suffer with. So it's not trying to fix the problem, it's just being with it. Not to say that we're a problem, just allowing ourselves to be in our own presence. From here, we'll move into the hamstring stretch, reaching up using a strap. We're holding on to the outer calf or knee, or holding on to the foot. Put a little bend in the knee to start with as you move your pelvis forward and back. As the sit bones come together and come forward and narrow, that's like a rounded low back. And as the inner groins and sit bones push back, that's like a little arched low back. So we want a little arched low back, so inner groins going back, then straighten the leg. And then we're going to close off the leg, so lowering the right leg out in front of us, then you can have a bend into it. Either keeping your hand there, or taking it to the right sitting bone as you try to pull the right sitting bone back a little bit as you push out through the right heel. Should be like the smallest movement. And feel this leg is way tighter. Really nice. And then swing that leg back around. Pivot back into your prone position on your belly towards the front of the yoga mat. Bring your forehead to the floor. Tuck your chin to your chest as much as you need to, so you have a little pocket to breathe into. And then stretch your arms out like a T, palms down. Come onto your fingertips and walk your hands high away from each other, or far away from each other. And then lift your head up. And we're going to stretch out through the arms. You can't see my hands, but they're stretching away from each other like an airplane. And then bring your left ear to your left shoulder. Keep stretching your right hand out. Move your right hand and bring those little stretches again through the side of the neck. How do you need to move your head or your hand to reach these little crystallized structures and bring more liquid to it. Right, switch sides. Right ear comes to the right shoulder. Reach out through the left hand. Nice, come back through center. Come onto your forearms. Okay, so I just want to show you how this next one's gonna look. So I'm gonna take my arms into cactus while I'm laying on my face. I'm gonna pull my left hand back into cobra prep. And I'm gonna bend my left foot and I'm gonna rotate on the outer edge of my right hip as I reach my left foot up to my right, towards my right hand. And then I'm gonna push back so much that my right shoulder lifts up too. This is gonna take me into a pretty deep chest stretch right here. So I'll cue us together. So come onto your belly, on your forearms, cactus arms. Keep your right cactus arm there. Bend your left hand like a chaturanga or a push-up. Roll over onto the outer edge of your right hip. Bend your left knee and stretch your left foot to the floor behind you, like it's reaching towards your right hand. Then push into your left hand, reach your right shoulder up off the floor, and try to spin yourself up to the right side or to the sky. Squeeze your shoulders back and your throat back, and find that engaged but pushing into a stretch. Nice, come out of that, come lay down on your belly for a moment, rest. Then second side, up on your left forearm, right hand pulls back like a push-up. Roll over to the outer edge of the left hip as the right foot reaches behind your back, finds a place on the floor. Keep pushing through the left hand and right hand as you lift your left shoulder up off the floor and curl backwards. As the shoulders curl back and the head curls back, the heart pushes in the direction of the chest. Doing these two opposite actions, opening up through the front of the chest. Really nice, and then come back down. Let's come up to your Sphinx position. So we're going to take our right hand, we're going to thread it underneath our elbow, palm up. So our arms are crossed like this, forehead down. If you don't know the position, it's like this. My right hand's crossing, palm up, left arm over. And you're trying to turn your chest as much to the floor as you can. I'm trying to push the left armpit down to the floor. We're going to take this into a twist in stages. So the first stage is we're going to pull the left knee up towards the right hand, getting a little bit into the left groin. The right hand will pin down the left knee and then begin to reach the left hand across the right arm, across the torso as the left hand stretches over to the right. So both shoulders are on the floor and you're in a supine twist. Come back to the feeling of your breath, inhaling, feeling the diaphragm pull down and the hips get more heavy and grounded. And as you exhale, the belly button draws to the spine as the diaphragm goes back up into its dome. Really nice. We're going to come up by coming the same direction. So roll back over to your right side as you come back up onto your mat in Sphinx position. Awesome. We'll do that on the other side. So left hand's going to come behind the right elbow, palm up. Right arm's going to stretch forward, palm down. Right shoulder twisting down to the floor. I'm going to read some lines out of Jeff Forrest's book, The Deepest Acceptance. We can see the messiness and beauty of day-to-day human existence as something to be avoided, transcended, or even obliterated. Or we can see it for what it really is, a secret and constant invitation to wake up now. Even if we believe we've already woken up yesterday, life in its infinite compassion won't let us rest on our laurels. Letting the perspectives of your brain shift a little bit from this, or at least being aware of this tendency to avoid, transcend, obliterate, make better, manifest, and being with what is, waking up to the moment. A deep and fearless acceptance of whatever comes your way. He says this is not a passive surrender or cold detachment, but an intelligent and creative emergence into the mystery of the moment. Moving into the twist, we slide the right knee up. Left hand flips over to hold down the outer right knee. Roll over onto your outer left shoulder, back of the left back. Right arm slides across the chest and stretches over to the other side of the room. So we're going to allow ourselves to roll all the way onto our backs. Keep rolling to the right till you're all the way on your back, and then scooch over so you're back on your yoga mat. We're going to do some bridges, the soles of the feet on the floor. Oftentimes in bridge, we do it with our hands by our sides, but if we look at that from a fascia point of view, our hands are almost always by our sides. So instead, if you take your hands and you reach it up behind you, probably towards, so your arms are on the floor, back of the hands on the floor, hands over your head. Then push into your feet, lift up your hips and stretch your hips towards your knees. Keep lifting your hips up until your heart lifts, and then lower back down. And lower your hips first, and then low back, upper back, and then the butt lifts off, then the back of the ribs, then the back of the heart. Lift up into the back of the heart. So you stretch your knees away, push into your feet, and then lower back down. A few more times on your own, in your own way. Maybe it'd feel good to just have a block underneath your hips and be more static. Maybe it'd feel good to take this into a slightly different variation of a bridge. And giving yourself 5 more breaths to finish exploring whatever you're exploring. And then we'll meet on the ground with our elbows bent like a cactus. Notice if your hands are lifted up off the floor, and widen your hands until the hands rest evenly on the ground too. And then widen your feet nice and wide. And find a Shavasana. And if you're a little cold, you could look around for a blanket or a sweatshirt. But be in this arms open, legs wide Shavasana. Starting to bring just a little bit more of an opening into the front of the body. As you allow yourself to dissolve here into your experience, have a deep and fearless acceptance of whatever comes your way. Saying if you cannot just detach, but be present as you move into the mystery of this moment. With unconditional acceptance. Keeping yourself soft. Bring your awareness to your breath and see if, because you're so soft, you can feel a ripple of subtle movement that the breath creates through the body. Maybe moving a few toes and fingers with that same curiosity and presence of what's here. And eventually, in your own time, stretch, roll over to your side, and come up to a seated meditation. As you eventually make it up to sitting, and again, no rush, allow yourself to breathe with gratitude for yourself showing up for practice. There's so many obstacles, especially when we're practicing from our home. So many more ways we can miss it. And especially if you're not used to moving slow, it's such a treat for the body to not try to force it and manipulate it from this place of effort, but from just being with it. We're going to end with a little bit of touching. So bring your hands up to your chest. Begin to stroke underneath your collarbones, above your collarbones, like feather light fingertips, bringing sensation to the front of the throat and the chest. And bringing your fingers into the sternum and begin to tap. You can use one hand, I like to use both. I mean, light taps at first, light taps coming up underneath the collarbones, going out over to the shoulders. Light taps coming back to the collarbones and down between the pec muscles. Light taps on the low ribs underneath the chest. And going back up, adding a little bit of pressure as you go underneath the collarbones. If you feel called to move where I'm not talking about, feel free. And take those taps on the back of your trapezius muscles, back of the neck, head, waking yourself up, forehead, temples, cheekbones, under the cheekbones, chin line, under the jaw, back to the chest. And then let it get soft again to that feather-like stroking. And then fold your hands together. And feel the aliveness in your body. And this fascia, one of my meditation this week has been being with the knowing that your fascia, this connective tissue that holds you together, its job is to hold you together in your place, in your shape. Let yourself soften into this being held. Namaste.
Thank you, Kim.